Paddy's gearing up for the GAA All-Ireland Football and Hurling. For all live TV championship games, it's money back as a free bet if your losing first goal scorer scores a goal anytime. Max £20. Excludes shops. T's and C's apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
Hello and welcome along to the GAA Postcast. I'm David Jennings from the Racing Post, and I'm delighted to be joined by former Galway manager Anthony Cunningham and Paddy Ahern from our sponsors, Paddy Power. It's the big one, lads. It's the All-Ireland Hurling Final. It's Galway v Waterford, and tickets are as rare as winning tips for me in the paper. They just cannot be got. And Paddy Ahern, surely you're a hardcore Galway fan, one of the biggest Galway fans I know. Surely you've got your ticket secured, have you?
Would you believe I'm still looking? It's a travesty now at this point, but we've been kind of tipping away all week, and I've never seen anything like it. I remember kind of the 2005 final against Cork was pretty difficult, but this is on a whole another scale altogether. I think there's a lot of neutrals want to go to this game as well, but people have been the only people I've actually talked to who have got tickets are kind of fellas picking them up in club draws and stuff like that. But I'm talking to fellas who are, you'd see it every game for the last 15-20 years who are still looking around. So
well, I'm going to read out a text message here from a Mr. Paddy Ahern. If you get Anthony Cunningham on the podcast, make sure you ask him if he's got a ticket for me. We've made a good friendship over the last couple of weeks. So Anthony Cunningham, surely you've got a ticket for Paddy Ahern, have you?
You have to join the queue, Paddy.
I'd say it's a long queue.
I've never seen it so bad. To be honest with you, when I was involved, nobody asked me for a ticket because they sort of they all assumed that you were very busy. But yesterday morning, I'd say, and this went on all week, yesterday morning before 9 o'clock, at 10 past 8 was the first caller looking for a ticket, and at 20 to 9 was another caller on.
Both Paddy Ahern.
Yeah. Well, and what I'm telling most people is go up on Saturday and there might be tickets around because they're extremely scarce. I was in Galway there last night, and loads and loads of people looking for tickets. There seems to be a lot of draws and a lot of, I suppose, a lot of companies offering tickets on draws, and maybe tickets have gone elsewhere as well this year. And the other thing is, because it isn't Kilkenny or maybe Tipperary, but Kilkenny, the neutrals will go to this match because there's going to be new winners, so everybody wants to go. Yeah,
it's unbelievable. The bane of my life is tickets. I'm not sure if both of you, I know maybe one of you has asked me for tickets to race meetings before, and fortunately for race meetings, if you do stuff with the track, they'd be quite good to you, and they'd say, oh look, we'll give you a couple of tickets if you want to give them out. But for something like this, it's just impossible. Yet people think that I should be able to get tickets, but unfortunately it's very, very tricky. But anyway, lads, we're going to move on, and we're going to start with our traditional quick fire questions. So Anthony, the first 5 are for you, and number 1 is, what was your favourite moment of the hurling championship so far?
I'd have to say the Joe Canning point in the last couple of minutes was some relief to see that ball going over the bar in the match in the semi-final against Tipperary for me. Moment of the year.
Okay, dokes. Number 2, what player has surprised you most this year?
I wouldn't, maybe not surprised the right word, but the guy that has that has come on the most for me this year is Gareth McInerney at centre back for Galway.
Yeah, that semi-final performance was phenomenal, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think he's been steady right through. He's been very solid in the league semi-finals, league final against Tipperary, very solid as well, and he's carried his form right through. And delighted for young Garwood because he had to work on his game for a couple of years, but it's a testimony to any player coming into a panel. You've got to work on it, and he stuck with it. And he definitely delivering now, and patience has paid off for Garwood, and has the ability, and great from a great stock and a great family.
Yeah, I think Paddy Maher is still grimacing from that shoulder in the semi-final. Okay, number 3, what team caught your eye in 2017 and could make the breakthrough in 2018? So maybe a team that probably hasn't fulfilled the potential yet, but you think they're just ready to break through next year.
It's going to be cheeky and say Waterford doesn't think they'll make the breakthrough next year.
They're edging ever closer.
Well, look, if you're looking for a newer team, you'd have to be impressed with Cork. I definitely think they'll kick on another notch or two. And I mean, Wexford would be the other team. Probably be a bit disappointed with Limerick and maybe Clare. Thought they'd have done a bit better. But I suppose Wexford have come a long way. But for me, Cork, probably you'd say they have the players to kick on a further step or two next year.
And no further news on who Anthony Cunningham might be managing in 2018. No.
No, not squeezed. There's no offers at all. All I get asked for this week is to say who's going to win or what do you think of the match on Sunday. So I guess that'll be the focus this week.
Okay, I'm sure that's something that will run over the coming months anyway. Anthony Cunningham is sure to be in demand. Okay, number 4. Who is the best and most accurate Sunday game pundit?
Well, I go for a newcomer on this. Well, a relative newcomer. I like Brendan Cummins' style. I think his analysis of the game. I think his core commentary work is excellent. But I think when he's on the Sunday game and when you meet Brendan and go through a match with him and listen to him, I think he's, tactically and coaching-wise really, really strong. And, I really like Brendan Cummins.
Okay, dokes. And finally, number 5, and this is probably the most interesting one of all. What was the very last thing you said to your players before they left the dressing room ahead of the 2015 All-Ireland final?
I would say I'd probably always finish up with telling players to trust their game. Just totally trust your game because, if you believe your game is strong enough and if you trust it, they have the ability to win and to beat any team and beat any player. And just keep trusting in your game. Even if you don't win the first ball or the second ball, it will happen.
Okay, and the question I always like to ask managers, would you practice your team talk before you actually give it? Just say a game like that, but in your head going to bed the night before, are you thinking this is what I'm going to say to the players?
Yeah, I mean, look at team talks, lads have sort of made them at times, but even a day like the final, lads are so keen to get out and you want to keep it short as well. So you would just maybe have 2 or 3 points that you just want to, you probably have gone over several times with them in the week or 2 weeks before that. So again, it'll be just three sound bites or it's something that you've gone through. As I said, keep trusting your game, keep believing. Going through the setup and the systems, and who picks up who. You've done that before, or you might have done at the morning meeting in the hotel that day. But just before you go to the field, it will be 2 or 3 short sound bites. Nothing long and nothing fancy.
Lovely stuff. Okay, Paddy Ahern, your 5 quick-fire questions. Number 1, what was the biggest bet struck with Paddy Power last weekend, and who was it on?
Last weekend wasn't like in relative terms. I suppose like it's big money for a lot of people. There was a $6,000 double on Kerry to qualify and Dublin to qualify.
Okay, you kept that.
Obviously, yeah, we kept that. He obviously had a tough Saturday evening, which a lot of us had, I think.
Don't even mention Sunday. Number 2, what has been the biggest bet taken on the All-Ireland hurling final so far?
Yeah, the finals is really ramping up. There was a guy who went into a shop in the UK, I think it was Sunday night, and he had £29,000 sterling on Galway to lift the
cash
trophy.
bet?
Yeah.
He walked into the shop with 29,000 sterling.
Walked into the shop, yeah.
What price?
2 to 5.
Wow. So is that 2 to 5 to lift the cup?
2 to 5 to lift the cup. Yeah, there's a one believer out there. Now, in fairness, it was kind of going against the grain of small, but we've taken some decent bets in Galway. But like we're seeing steady cash in Waterford as well. Like there was a $4,000 bet in one of the shops in Waterford to win the match at 9 to 4 as well. So we're kind of taking over. We're laying both sides, which is obviously what we want to do. But I didn't.
And who gets the phone call there? Does the shop ring you?
That's it. Yeah, I was lucky enough to be working on Sunday evening, so it was. So
what was your reply?
Our reply was the bet wins, but sure, give it to him anyway. At least if I'm paying out money, I'm happy.
Okay, it's 29,000 sterling on Galway. Wow. Okay, number 3. Who has been the biggest mover in the Footballer of the Year market?
Yeah, this is a brilliant market. It's been kind of.
I found the winner, by the way.
Oh,
go
good.
on, give this first.
It's absolutely all over the place. It's been up and down. How many? When the Kerry lads were in, it was all kind of Guinea, O'Donoghue and stuff like that. But even among the Dublin lads, they've been flip-flopping all over the place. So the biggest mover really, there's been 2 of them, Andy Moran and Conor Callaghan. Moran again was brilliant last weekend. I think he was maybe 12s or 14s. He was as big as 40s, I think, somewhere last week, before the game. But he's 4-1 favourite now. Conor Callaghan as well was as big as 25s, I think. I thought he was brilliant. I can't believe he didn't get him in the match, to be honest. And Sunday he's into 5-1, and there's another huge mover as well. People are latching on big time to Cluxton.
There you go. You've mentioned the winner.
40s, 50s,
Yous are far too big at 13-2, and I shouldn't say this before. I'm utterly convinced, unless he has an absolute meltdown, which can happen in the final, if he has a normal steady game, the people that decide this decision will want Cluxton to get it, because he has obviously completely revamped goalkeeping in the last 10 to 15 years, and they will want to make a statement. And this has been his best year. His kickouts have been flawless. He saved the penalty. He made a brilliant save against Kildare as well, and he's had more clean sheets than any other year. This is the year of Stephen Cluxton, and I think 13-2 is huge.
I kind of figured that would go towards him last year as well, and
he didn't have a good year last year, though, I didn't think. He made a few errors, and he's been flawless this year. Yeah,
he has been very good this year. But, David Clark has been brilliant as well. So the one thing, and the one slight problem I have with him in a Footballer of the Year context is he's not guaranteed as All-Star,
Yeah, I think he is.
I don't know. I've seen. I've just even this week just looking at journalists and a couple of decent judges around. There was at least 2 or 3 of them who were giving it to Clark as well. Clark. I think Clark is the best keeper. He's definitely the best shot stopper in the country as well. If Mayo were to win the final, I think it's very, very hard not to give it to David Clark.
Did make a mistake for the late Derry goal, should I say? That might count against him. Anyway, that's enough on a hurling weekend. Number 4, who's been the biggest mover in the hurler of the year market?
I'd say Jamie Barron most likely. We were kind of, Gleeson was always up the top of the market, and all the Galway lads were shortish prices compared to their All-Ireland price. But we'll say, after the Cork game, the Waterford lads all would have been pushed out, and Barron, he would have been as big as kind of 80-1, that kind of stuff. And people were kind of latching onto him because he is an exceptional talent. But it was all tied into how far Waterford were going to go, and obviously when they got drawn against Kilkenny, it was going to be tough. But he's into 3-1 favourite now, and he's our biggest loser in the book by a fair bit, I'd say.
Okay, dokes. And finally, what anti-post bet is Paddy Ahern sweetest on heading into the hurling and football final? So what's the bet that's going to help you potentially retire at the end of September?
It'll be nowhere near retirement, but I have a couple of nice bets in Galway in the outright. So kind of 11-2.
Biggest price?
11-2 biggest price, and we'll say down as far as 9-4. But we'll say around the Dublin match, just after the Dublin game, I didn't think that to kind of warrant the performance they put in, I didn't think the cuts were kind of heavy enough, so we kind of got a few quid on around that time. So please God, Sunday now at 5:30 we'll be collecting a few quid.
It will be an absolute nightmare for you, both from a Galway native point of view and a punting point of view of Waterford.
Absolutely, and when I pay Anthony Cunningham the grand that I owe him for this ticket as well, it'll be much more worse.
Competition time, folks. Your chance to win a €25 or £25 free bet, compliments of Paddy Power. Last week's winner was Paul Stirrat from Monaghan. Paul Stirrat. We get some very, very strange names in this. So last week's winner was Paul Stirrat, who correctly answered the question of who is the top scorer in this year's All-Ireland Senior Football Championship. It is, of course, Anthony Cunningham.
Say that again.
There's an easy one now.
The top
scorer in this year's football championship by an absolute mile is who?
Well, Dean Rock, I'm sure, is it?
No.
What is it? Callan is there for the hurling, I know.
It is Cillian O'Connor. Think of the 10 games. Paul Stirrat from Monaghan is correctly identified. Cillian O'Connor is the answer. This week's question is, very simply, who is the Galway hurling captain? So who is the Galway hurling captain? Tweet your answer with the hashtag Postcast, and the winner will be announced in next week's show.
Paddy's gearing up for the GAA All-Ireland Football and Hurling. For all live TV championship games, it's money back as a free bet if your losing first goal scorer scores a goal anytime. Max £20. Excludes shops. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Welcome back to the GAA Postcast. I'm David Jennings from the Racing Post, and I'm joined by Anthony Cunningham and Paddy Ahern from our sponsors, Paddy Power. Now, lads, it's the big one. It's the final. It's Waterford v Galway, and Paddy Ahern, kick us off with some prices and handicaps.
Yeah, with pleasure. Galway are 8-15, the draw is 10-1, and Waterford are 9-4. It is currently a 3-point handicap. Galway are 10-11, handicap draw is 11-1, and Waterford +3 are 11-10.
Anthony Cunningham, you've been in this position before. You know what's going through players' minds at this current time, what's going through Micheál Donoghue's mind at the current time. it's a final that the neutral is really looking forward to. But what will be going through Galway minds at the moment? Surely their confidence has never been higher. They're league champions, they're Leinster champions. It's a long time since they've been beaten in a competitive game.
Yeah, I suppose they'll just want to keep the show going really, and keep believing in their game. And today and tomorrow they'll just be going. Players will probably just have a few quiet moments. They'll probably go through a few moves in their heads, but they're all very experienced now, and they'll be quite relaxed as well. Training tonight, probably at 7:00, will be nothing more than 20 minutes of just poke a few balls, stretch out, and final team talk and announce the team. And they'll want to get in and get out.
Team, Anthony, we've read in newspapers this morning, Colin Keys in the back of the Independent. Is Jonathan Glynn going to start?
No, I don't think so. I think they'll keep Jonathan Glynn for the last 20 minutes. I'd be surprised if they did. I think they'll need... the influence of Johnny Glynn the last day was very, very telling, really. And he may not... they're going to use him and he runs out of steam and not be on the pitch with the last 20 minutes, because he probably wouldn't have done as much physical training but as the rest of them. But the last month would have brought him on hugely. But I would say the Galway will go with the same team, and they'll use Johnny as an impact sub in the same way that, to counteract the Maurice Shannon introduction in the 50th minute. I think you'll see Johnny Glynn. And coupled with that, I think Galway forwards tired a bit the last day in the second half, and in particular in the last 20. Joe Canning was the only scorer for the last 5 scores, but Niall Burke, Conor Cooney, Cathal Mannion did all tire, I thought, as well. So they will need, I think, both Johnny Glynn and Jason Flynn coming in.
Yeah, and I suppose it's been a kind of a strange sort of year for Galway in that they've obviously had the couple of games in Leinster, and then they went into the All-Ireland semi-final, and to beat Tipperary in 2 big matches like that in the 1 year, that's quite an achievement. Like, this Tipperary team, I know they were disappointing this year, but they're still one hell of a team.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think the win the last day would be a huge advantage to Galway, because look at it, it could have gone either way, but they really stuck at it, stuck to their game plan, believed in their ability, and you just take Johnny Cohen's play in the last play. He could have shot himself or tried to lob the ball in, but he had the presence of mind to know that Canning was free behind him, spun around, took the best option of finding the man, put the ball into his hand, and then a superb shot. As an example, they were smart in the play, and finals are down to, I think this final will be down to the last 10 or 15 minutes and guys taking the right decisions like that. And Galway are batting hard into that now. They're really good at in that, and that's experience really. And we've seen Kilkenny over the years doing that, and it just doesn't come overnight. It comes with repetitive games that are really, really tight, and I think that's the edge for Galway.
Paddy Ahern, what type of game are we likely to see on Sunday? Is it going to be as cagey as perhaps some pundits are predicting, or do you think it's going to be kind of a high-scoring, free-flowing affair?
I really don't think that. It's kind of funny, I suppose. People are looking forward to this game more than any game that people are saying for the last 10, 15 years or whatever. But I think the reality of the situation is not going to be a good game. Just the way I think it's going to be quite similar to the kind of the Galway Wexford game, or that. In the first half of that, Galway actually managed it really well, but it was pretty kind of stifled, that kind of way. The line here is 48.5 points. A lot of it does depend on the weather and stuff like that, but I can't see there being a heap of goals in this game or anything like that. I think it's going to be kind of a tit for tat, score for score game. Maybe Anthony's first final in 2012. That was a very exciting game, and you were on the edge of your seat, but you couldn't have said it was a classic game of hurling or anything like that. I think it's going to be kind of bunched. I think it's going to be pretty similar to that here. The one thing I would say, I've heard kind of people saying that they wouldn't be too sure, and people were saying that at the start of the year about Galway's matchup against this type of team, but I think it's something that actually has suited them big time over the last year or two. Against Clare last year, they played sweeper, and Aidan Hart played it, and they played really, really well. they were so patient against Wexford as well. There were times in that first half against Wexford where you were thinking this is going to go down to the wire, and you were kind of getting frustrated as well. Like there wasn't any sign of a goal chance, but Galway were just so patient. Like kept giving that kind of diagonal ball in, and Conor Cooney just had one of his days really. And I like of all teams, I think the good thing about Galway is they can play it both ways. They can play a tip if you want to go into a shootout, or they can play this kind of sweeper system as well and still get you out of it.
Anthony Cunningham, Galway have scored 33 points against Offaly, 29 against Wexford, and 22 in the semi-final win over Tipperary. In their last 3 games, they have failed to score a goal. Why?
I think there was probably a goal or two on, and particularly early in the match, the last day, that they should have gone for, really, if you had to pick holes in performances. I think Conor Cooney had a great chance early on, and I think in that type of situation on Sunday next, they'll have to go for it. I think they have to be more ambitious and really have to go for the jugular, really. If they get a goal early on against Waterford, I think they'll put awful pressure on the defensive system that Waterford have, and that they could find themselves, Galway could find themselves 5 or 6 points up, and Waterford probably, have to advance a bit more. Waterford will try and play, as Paddy said there, on their terms, and I think the game will be a good bit of cat and mouse early on. Galway coming deep to get away from the sweeper system and maybe scoring at distance. Why didn't they score? I think they have to be more ambitious in going for goals. The other point is that they are withdrawn. Their half forward line are coming a bit deeper as well. They will have to score a goal or two on Sunday, I think, to win this match and put a bit of daylight with them, because I wouldn't like to leave Waterford there.
Will they need goals? Will they need goals? Surely, is this something that Micheál Donoghue will be saying, lads, this is not on. 3 games, no goals, it's not on. Or will he be saying, lads, we're popping over points from distance, we're keeping the scoreboard ticking over. Let's keep just doing what we're doing. If we score 25 points, we're going to win this game. Don't be worrying about goals.
I think, and I nearly know it, Micheál Donoghue would have sat down with them, and when they'd analysed the game and they'd asked for improvement, that would be the number 1 up on the flip chart, saying we have to create more goal chances and be braver in front of goals. So they will have to get in for a goal on Sunday. I'd be very, very sure of that. I think Galway are in trouble if they don't get in for a goal, because with the system that Waterford have there, they'll be happy enough to keep Galway to 20, 22 points. And I think Galway will need a goal, and I think they'll get a goal on Sunday. Having said that, I think the 2 cornerbacks for Waterford are extremely good. Noel Connors will suit. As a defender, he'll suit Conor Whelan, because he's similar size and probably a similar strength. And Shane Fives is probably one of the most underrated defenders in the game, and he'll pick up Conor Cooney. So I do think they'll cut out an inside threat. We didn't see Waterford leaking goals the last day or right through the championship, really, apart from their first match against Cork. And I think Galway will have to be patient, but I think they'll need a goal.
Paddy, you talked earlier about how you think the game will be, a little bit cagey, and you are going 8-5, I think, under 2.5 goals. And if you take into consideration that Galway have failed to score a goal in their last 3 games, Waterford have got 11 in their 5 championship matches, but 3 of them came obviously against Cork after Damien Cahalane was sent off. And even earlier on in the campaign against Kilkenny, they got a couple of goals in extra time. I think under 2.5 goals at 8-5 is a cracking price.
Yeah, I wouldn't completely disagree with you. The thing is, there is a lot of talent there in that Galway kind of, I wouldn't say it's a calculated effort not to go for goals or whatever, but against Wexford, it didn't really. There were times where potentially it looked to be on, and certain players just kind of take the ball away, kind of spray it around and just tap it over the bar. And there was a bit of that with Tip as well. They didn't really, I thought they'd put up a huge score against Offaly, and I know Offaly played the 2 sweepers or whatever as well, but I think what you touched on something earlier, that they seem to be kind of happy with kind of winning games by putting up big point scores. But that doesn't mean the talent isn't there to score goals either. Like, what you kind of want to see is if the game is in the mental pot and it's on with the likes of Joe, with the likes of Conor Cooney. And I mean, Conor Whelan can show, like he showed what a finisher he is as well in that under-21 semi-final. He scored an absolutely cracking goal in that. So there is talent and there is goal scorers there. Like, it's obviously going to be hard to do against Waterford. And the other thing about Galway is maybe one slight criticism you'd have with them is they're not exactly watertight. Like, they are prone to these kind of small mistakes that you saw for the John McGrath goal. Even the likes of Jimmy O'Keefe's goal in the Leinster final, it was like there was no way that ball should have got to the stage it did, where it's just hand passed across the goal for him to tap it in. So, like, there is potential, I think, for Galway to kind of concede goals. Like, I get what you're saying, though. I wouldn't put anyone really off the kind of the under 2.5, but like a lot of people were saying that before the Cork Waterford game as well. They were saying it's going to be kind of a similar game, and I know that the
he's looking pretty sweet for a while.
Yeah, exactly. I know the sending off had a lot to do with that as well. But like even the Kilkenny game as well, like Waterford, kind of late on in games they showed they can kind of punish you, and they have the guys, lads like Barron and that kind of stuff, and even Moran as a goal or two got this year that they're running from deep and they're actually good finishers as well.
Okay, folks, while we're on the first goal scorer team, I'm going to rattle out a few Paddy Power prices for first goal scorer. Conor Cooney 6-1, Conor Whelan 15-2, Joe Canning 13-2, Maurice Shannon 13-2, 12s Austin Gleeson, 14s Colin Mannion, 14s Joseph Cooney, 16s Brick Walsh, 12s Jake Dillon, 14s Niall Burke, and 13-2 Shane Bennett. Anthony, if you think Galway will get a goal, do you think they'll get the first goal, and who do you think will get it?
Yeah, I'd punt for Conor Cooney. I think his record in Croke Park has been excellent, really, and you know his ability to score goals is really, really strong. And I think he'll probably learn from the last day as well. In that if you know gets half a chance, he'll go for it. We've seen him last year's All-Ireland semi-final, a great goal. Like a tip, we've seen being blocked down for a second charge against Padraig Maher and a great block with him. So he's been our top inside forward, himself and Conor all year, Conor Whelan all year. So I do think he'll push hard for a goal.
Lovely. So Conor Cooney at 6-1 for Anthony Cunningham. Do you like my little audition for your job there, Paddy?
Yeah, loved it. Yeah, well,
rattled off the prices, nice, even though they weren't actually in order, which probably a black mark against my name. Who's your idea of the first goal scorer?
I still think that Waterford are probably just slightly more likely to get the first goal. And in fairness, like, he's been doing an absolutely thankless job all year, because a lot of the time he's kind of left there isolated in his own, and he works hard and no one gives him any credit for it. But I think Shane Bennett is due. He's due a decent game. Like, he works very hard, and he's a really, really good finisher on his day if he gets any sort of a chance. And depending on who was marking, I think he will get a chance against Galway. So I'd probably plug for Shane Bennett there.
13-2, and I'm going to be Mr. Pessimistic, and I'm going to go for no goal scorer, 12-1, which I think you'll get a good run for your money, because I'm not sure if there's going to be an early goal. I think it'll be quite cagey. So you could get into the middle of the second half, which still have a squeak for no goal scorer at 12-1, which is probably a little bit of value. Moving on to man of the match, lads. Paddy, I'll let you do your job here and quote some prices.
I will indeed. For man of the match at the minute, we are favourite on Joe Canning at 11-2. Conor Whelan's 9-1, Austin Gleeson 9-1, Conor Cooney 10s, Jamie Byrne 14-1, Maurice Shanahan 16s, Tyger Burke is 16s, Joseph Cooney 18-1 and 20-1 Bear.
And you also have, I won't get you to name them out, but a great bet, I think, is to get a nomination for man of the match on Ortiz the Sunday game. That's a cracking. That's quite. It's kind of like backing it each way, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, definitely. And we kind of offered for the later games as well, because it's a lot more solid, shall we say. But for we'll say, like for semi-finals and finals, it's quite a popular market as well. So it's it's a good one to be able to offer.
Well, Anthony mentioned a player earlier on there, Garrod McInerney, who was brilliant in the win over Tipperary. He got man of the match in that. He's 11-2 to get a nomination, and I think the game actually might suit him. Unless, obviously, Austin Gleeson is marking him. But I thought 11-2 for him to get a nomination was quite a big price. Anthony, who's your idea man of the match?
I suppose the only thing on Garrod is there he's going to be marking Austin Gleeson. And
you think he will?
I think for quite a bit of the match, maybe Austin will start in the wing, or he'd drift off him for a while. But I think in the main, Austin will try and take him around the place. Having said that, Galway Winnie has a chance, but it's just a tough. That's the negative on that for me. It's just a tough task. I'd be cagey in this. If Galway were to win, and I'd be, saying that they will win. Definitely, Joe Canning has to be in the running from that match if that happens. So that's a safer bet for me. If it's in the nomination stakes, it's Joe Canning, Conor Cooney, or maybe Dahi Buck would be. But I don't know if Dahi, because there's only going to be 2 inside forwards for Waterford. There's probably going to be more pressure on them if there were 3 inside forwards and 3 snipers inside, like Patrick Horgan. So that's just the way they're set up. As an outsider, you might also look at the likes of Kevin Moran for Waterford.
He's having a cracking season, isn't he?
Yeah, Kevin Moran would definitely be a nomination, I think, if Waterford have, go on and win. But for me, I'd be safe in saying Joe Canning. Joe
Canning, you're playing it safe. And I'm just flabbergasted that it took so long for Dahi Burke to get a mention here, Paddy. I know, how is your love affair with Dahi going at the moment?
Yeah, pretty good now. In fairness, he's holding up his end of the bargain anyway. He's had a really good year. He'll be on Shane Bennett this year as well. It's kind of like you think the game will suit him to a certain degree because he's such a good hurler as well that he's probably more comfortable as a centre back just as he is as a full back. So I wouldn't have any worry about him at the weekend anyway. He'd be great.
And your idea man of the match in this?
Just touching. I'd agree with what Anthony said about Garage McInerney. Like he's improved an awful sight this year and he's unbelievable. But if Waterford are going to try and put Leeson on him, and you'd worry if he just got dragged around the place. Now I don't think they'll do it, but if I was from a Galway point of view, I'd actually prefer Garage McInerney to Mark Brick, I'd imagine, because if you looked at that Wexford game, I'd say if the first 20 minutes, if they had 10 puckouts, 10 of them went towards Brick. I think if you had Garage McInerney and himself just fighting in the air,
would that be some battle?
It would be brilliant for Galway, really, because then I think Pádraig Mannion is probably Galway's second best defender, and he's a bit more mobile as well, so I think he'd be well suited to Gleeson. Whether or not Micheál Donoghue will do it now is another thing. But for man of the match, it is hard to get away from Canning because it's like nearly his whole career is kind of culminating
his
in this moment. That kind of way where if he has any sort of a good game, sentiment might play a part. And in fairness, if he did anything like he did in the second half against Tip, he'd be a worthy winner of it. So it's kind of hard to get away from him around the 11-2, 6-1 mark. One guy I did think is due a big game, and he's a nice price for a nomination as well, is you can't believe it around the county if you believe it. David Burke is actually getting a bit of stick, and David Burke has been Galway's most he's been their most consistent hurler for my money for the last 3 years. Now he wasn't great against Tip, but he's doing a lot of I think he's playing a lot more defensively than people realise, and he's getting through an awful amount of work. He's an unbelievable hurler in his day as well. He'll have to play well because the two Waterford midfielders are playing so well, but you can get 13-2 for him in a man of the match nomination, and 20-1 for man of the match. So favourable mention to David Burke as well.
Okie dokes, but two big shouts for Joe Canning in the man of the match market. Now, lads, before nominating your best bet on the game, I just want to know if there's any other bets. There's so many bets, hundreds of bets you can have on Paddy Power in the match. Paddy, I know you've been studying these markets all week. Is there any without giving away your best bet on the game, is there any that jump out at you?
Yeah, jeez, I'm nearly sick of them now at this stage. I'm looking at them so often. I would say there was one that I did see. So it's the team to get the first yellow card market. I couldn't believe in some quarters Waterford or Galway are favoured for this, and I can't get my head around that at all. I think it's a huge thing in All Ireland to have that little bit of experience. So you have the couple of guys who were there with Anthony in 2012, and the majority of the panel, apart from maybe Adrian Toohey, I don't think he was on the panel in 15. He might have been, but everyone else was there. Everyone else is that kind of a little bit more used to it. It's very easy to get wound up on the top of the start of an All Ireland final and start thundering into lads and this kind of stuff. And I would say definitely Waterford are a little bit more physical than Galway and have might have a bit of a tendency to get carried away early on. So I think they were around 11-10 for the first yellow card, and I'd make that odds on.
And is that a bet that you'd have a right cut at now?
If you were allowed, Yeah, most definitely. Definitely. I mean, obviously, Anthony, you're finding a bit of value in, or if you think that there's, implied negative margin in it, you'd try and have a decent shot at it anyway.
And anything else in the other markets?
Back for the nomination really was pretty much the main one that I could see as well. I think, like David Burke, if he does get up and down the field, I think you can back him over 2 points. Like, he's around kind of 6-4 around that mark. So yeah, he mightn't. If he is to have a good game, like we'll say in the 2015 final, and we'll say last year, like I'd say his expectancy would have been higher. You wouldn't nearly have been saying 5-6 for over 1.5. So I'd say he's a good chance at maybe 2 points.
Now, Anthony Cunningham, obviously you're a hardcore Galway fan, but the question I want to ask you is, will you actually have a bet on this game, or will you be happy just to let it roll and you'll be obviously enjoying the celebrations if they win, but will you have a bet on it?
No, it's very hard to have a bet on a match like that, really. Sort of destroys the day, really. So, no, to be honest, the top matches like that, I wouldn't, if you're a sporting team, I wouldn't have a bet on it.
If you were to advise some of your hordes of followers to have a bet on the match, apart from your best bet on the game, is there anything else that stands out?
It's difficult. I mean, I would think Brick Walsh at 4-1 to get a yellow card any time. I was going to say either him or Kevin Moore. I think they're hard tacklers and they're not afraid to put themselves about. Either Kevin or Bricks, but I go for Brick anytime yellow card at 4-1. Because I do think Waterford are the underdogs as well, and I think they're firing to Galway pretty early on, and they do swarm and create rucks and get bodies around the ball, and Brick as Paddy hits there, gets on a lot of ball, or at least the ball drops in his area quite a lot, and I think you could see him flying in a bit late there in 1 or 2 early tackles.
And Fergal Horgan is refereeing. Any thoughts on him? You're obviously both of you are tipping an early yellow card. Is he one for showing the cards a bit like our own David Goff in the football semi-final last week?
Yeah, I'd just say with Fergal, it's his first All-Ireland final, and he's nice guy. Fergal, when he played, he was a hardy chucker when he played with Tip. He'll be a bit nervous, I'd say, in his first finals. That's for sure. And I think early on he'll try and stamp his authority, but he usually lets the game flow. And he has been quite. I think all the referees this year have been quite technical. If it's anywhere high, it's a card immediately. But I sincerely hope he doesn't behave like some of the football referees, and just it's all about him. I don't think Fergal is that type of guy anyway, and if he's going on the experience of others, of Brian Gavins and these for the last few years, they've let the game flow, and I don't think it'll be a nasty game of any sort, but I do think there'll be a few punch and tackles.
Okay, dokes, there we go. So, lads, the time has arrived to announce our best bets of the All-Ireland hurling final, and that the 2-point handicap could be obliterated. I'll tell you, Jack, you have plenty to choose from now after Tyrone were beaten last week to take me down a peg or two. I must apologise for my anti-post Tyrone fancy in the Football Championship. Now that that's out of the way, Paddy Ahern, your best bet on the All-Ireland hurling final is?
Yeah, it's just tied into what we were talking about there, and the thing with Fergal Horgan is he is a stickler for certain rules and that kind of thing. I think I genuinely think there's going to be a few cards in this, and I think there's going to be a red card as well. There's a red card at 11-4, and of course this is a guy as well who sent off Tyke de Burka in the All-Ireland quarter-final. We were making the red card at a much shorter price. There's around 11-4 on it. I think there's going to be a red card in this, and that'd be my nap.
So your best bet in the All-Ireland hurling final is for a player to be sent off?
Absolutely, yeah. Isn't that depressing?
Well, I think you've got an insight into Paddy Ahern's personality there, chaps. Anthony Cunningham, your best bet in the All-Ireland hurling final is?
Well, I'm going to be, I suppose, trying brave and trying to predict results. So I think Galway wanted 3 points, it's 7-2. I don't think there'll be any more in it. I just think they'll get over the line, but a lot of Galway people think they'll win it well. I don't believe in that. I think between 1 and 3 points, and I think, knowing the type of system and the type of game that Waterford play, I think it'll be quite tight. And we touched on that earlier, and that's the nature of the game. So for me, 1 to 3 points for Galway.
So Galway to win by 1, 2 or 3 points for Anthony Cunningham at 7-2. And I'm going to go for under 2.5 match goals at 8-5 with Paddy Power. I think it could be... I wouldn't be surprised if that 12-1 no-goal score came up. So there's your 3 best bets for the All-Ireland hurling final. My sincere thanks to Anthony Cunningham and Paddy Ahern from our sponsors, Paddy Power. Anthony, before you go, the celebrations, if I know we don't want to be predicting the future, but if Galway win, you'll be drunk for a month, will you?
No, look at there's fantastic fever in Galway. There's fantastic fever in Waterford as well. And if Galway weren't in it, there's only one other team in Ireland that I'd love to see win in Ireland. That's Waterford at this point in time. And I'd say the same for Waterford. If Galway weren't in it, if Waterford weren't in it, they'd want Galway to win. So for the two counties, there's going to be one loser. I sincerely hope the Galway are the winners, and it'll be Waterford's turn next year. But there'll be some celebrations in the west of Ireland, that's for sure. Or for in general, hurling folk that are non-traditional counties, I think we'll all take huge solace from this, and maybe other counties will spring up as well.
So there's your answer, folks. Anthony Cunningham will be drunk for 2 months after the All-Ireland hurling final. Thanks very much, lads. Enjoy the match. I hope it goes according to plan. We've 2 Galway men on the panel, and for Paddy's profitable stake, I think he'll be hoping that Galway win. And obviously for Anthony, former Galway hurling manager, he'll obviously be hoping that the tribesmen get over the line as well. I've been David Jennings from the Racing Post. Enjoy the match.
Paddy's gearing up for the GAA All-Ireland Football and Hurling. For all live TV championship games, it's money back as a free bet if your losing first goal scorer scores a goal anytime. Max £20. Excludes shops. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.